time it's the perspectives on the apparel industry. And for that, I would like to invite a personality who is the Managing Director of the Brandix Group and drives the overall strategy and transformation journey of the company while overlooking its global business. Prior to taking up reins as Managing Director, he served as Group Finance Director and Chief Strategy Officer of the group, and sits as a director of its subsidiaries and investment ventures that include TJ Lanka PLC, Equipa Global, and Best Pacific Lanka Limited. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Hasitha Premaratne.
So I will take about 10 to 12 minutes and try to touch upon very briefly the new trends and some of the value propositions that the apparel industry requires, and I need to bring the changes. First thing that I wanted to talk about is that as the times are tough, as the changes are inevitable, apparel industry, like many other industries globally, is going through a rapid transformation. You'd have heard many things about the apparel industry in the last maybe 1 year, especially because the global markets are going through a significant slowdown due to heavy inventory positions, plus also the retail slowdown. And that has led for us to revisit ourselves and see how we have been operating. And when I talk about us, I'm not only talking about Sri Lanka, I'm talking about the global apparel supply chain. And generally, China used to dominate over the years, but lately there is a sizable portion of apparel supply coming outside China, or moving out of China. And one of the key things that we've seen is initially it was moving towards Vietnam in a big way. And we've had significant movements lately towards from Vietnam and then towards Bangladesh. Sri Lanka has been a winner to an extent, but of course we can do a lot more. But one of the things that have been always spoken about is that moving business out of a country which has it established for a long time requires not just order movement, but a lot of preparation. So today, the biggest challenges we are going through as an industry is how do we handle that cost competitiveness, and also on the other side, how we're going to look at the complexity that these products can come to the table as well. So I will quickly move, skipping a few slides. I'm going to move out of this few of these points and straight away get into the point I wanted to touch on. As a customer, when you look at the apparel industry as a whole, I think the biggest challenge that people are looking at is how the apparel industry is viewed and seen by different perspectives from the buyer's side. So a few things are there. I'm going to talk about 5 important points. In the interest of time, I'll touch on each of them very briefly. So first of all, the cost competitiveness. Now that's something that need a significant change into the way we do things. Firstly, talking about the productivity angle, because at the end of the day, when you talk about the cost competitiveness, the productivity comes in, and some of the productivity aspects are basics. So we need to address on one side the basics. I'll give you an example. People are talking about orders moving to Bangladesh in a big way. One of the main challenges that are going through is that in the Bangladesh environment, still the workforce is working much harder than in Sri Lanka. Of course, in the early 90s, we had that same thing. But today we have got kind of get into a matured mindset. And as a result of that, we've had our other interests as well. For example, if you take Bangladesh, they have a 60-hour legal approval to work per week, 60 hours per week, and they work 60 hours per week. And in Sri Lanka, we have legally 60 hours of per week to work, but we work 54 hours. Now that itself pushes you down straight away in the competitive channel, right? So that's something that has over the years have emerged, and because of the Saturday work, because of the Sunday, some of the family commitments and all these things, it has become a culture that we have reduced the work. So some of those things are basics which we need to look at how we need to balance things off. But on top of that, it's also about bringing the new technologies and the digital and automation into the industry. Because at the end of the day, when you talk about cost competitiveness, it's primarily around productivity game. How do we bring our costs down at least 30% of what it is today. When I talk about 30%, I'm not talking about just bringing the cost down, but it is cost per unit down by 30%. So one side obviously is to bring the overall cost down, but on the other side, it's about making more units, more product within a shorter period of time. So that requires certainly a different aspect to be brought in. Certainly from the bringing the cost down, recent exchange rate depreciations have also helped, but we all know that that's short-lived because inflation keep catching up parallelly. So on one side, the cost competitiveness is a very important aspect. But cost is one critical factor, and today the productivity game is going to make a huge difference on how we are going to operate. The second point I want to touch is the innovation. Now, last 4 years, if you look at the industry, if you go to a US market to shop, or if you go to a European market to shop, generally you have more product which is coming with traditional, the older stuff. There's not much of a difference if you went in 2019 and then went back in 2022, not much of newness in the market. Why? Because we had COVID, so it was about selling and getting rid of the inventory. Then we had the recent economic crisis, which was building up inventory. Again, there's a lot of inventory in the system, so buyers have been working on significantly to push the inventory out. But today, there is a hunger for a newer product. The innovation has become even more important in the retail market. So the newness that we could offer is a critical success factor to get there. So again, when I talk about newness, as I said, it's more about how do we invest into R&D and get better product. And also, as we all know, when you give the newer version of a product, we have obviously an advantage in terms of the pricing as well. And in Sri Lanka, we have a lot of R&D related investments that have gone in. Large organizations have built innovation organizations that can support and grow the global needs. In fact, what happened 10 years ago in London or New York happens here today. The global buyers, their designers visit Sri Lanka. Of course, we don't ultimately own the design. We call it co-creation because we create and then there is a change and then we jointly bring the product out. And that's certainly something that keep you ahead. So that's another second aspect that we need to reshape in the industry and look at even more seriously. Third is the duty-free market access. Now, this is a big challenge. As you know, Europe is duty-free from here. US is not. And of course, we have other parts as well. So India is a big market, big opportunity to look at from here. But as you all know, while it's a big ocean that's out there, it's very competitive and tough. It's not easy to get there and succeed. So we must not forget the fact that we need to also make profits, not just to say that there is a market out there. So duty-free access into Europe has certainly more potential to grow. And good news is that we have extension of the GSP Plus for another few years as well. And fast-growing Indian domestic market is an opportunity, but we need to diversify into more new markets. And duty-free is a very important factor there. Then moving on, the other big thing is the faster response. Now, we need to respond fast to the buyer's requirements, especially to manage their inventories. And in that context, we've had a lot, especially because of the logistics support we have in the port, right? So port connectivity has helped us to bring the goods in as well as to take them out. But more importantly, I think the bigger conversation today is about the global supply chains. That is bringing verticality in and connecting the dots to say that we have more produced locally than importing from elsewhere. And that was spoken about for a long time in this industry, but came into real pressure because of the COVID situation. You know what happened during COVID, right? Fabric is coming from China. Sewing happens here. So the buyer says, I have geographically spread the risk between China and Sri Lanka, right, for the end product. But unfortunately, when China closes down, Sri Lanka has to wait, though we have the sewing capacity here, because we can't get down the fabric. So that made the localization of the supply chains even more relevant. So on one side, it's towards the faster response. Secondly, towards managing the geographical risk spread. So both these aspects have made a difference. And today, if you look at faster response has become even more important. And Sri Lanka, with our destination advantage, as well as supply chain localization, can offer a significant value proposition. And finally, something that has always kept the Sri Lankan industry ahead of the competition. The cutting edge, or rather the compliance, we spoke about in the past as sustainability, the 3 Ps, and then it moved into ESG frameworks, right? But at the end of the day, it's all about how we look after our environment and our people, which is a very important aspect. And most of the time we've heard from our buyers that if you give an order to Sri Lanka, you can go to sleep peacefully, right? So that was the comfort that we had developed over the years from the early 90s with significant investment into the sustainability programs. And today, sustainability has become a topic that is very, very important in the eyes of the consumer. So that's something that we cannot relax on, saying that we are doing a good job or we have done a good job, because the rest of the world is catching out, particularly Bangladesh. Traditionally, when you say Bangladesh, you tend to think that Bangladesh is far behind on this subject, but today they are not. They've invested heavily into the sustainability side, particularly into the solar, LEED Platinum certified factories, etc. So they're catching up. So we have to be at the cutting edge of things. That's why it's not just saying ESG compliance, we have to move to the next level. We have to get our solar, we have to get all the other environmental waste management aspects, as well as the good labor practices we have, we need to take it to the next level. So these are the 5 things I wanted to touch upon. Of course, in that limited time I have, to say that if we want to shape the industry to the next level and kind of look at how we need to look at the next 5 to 10 years journey, these 5 areas need a top focus. And most of the large organizations in Sri Lanka today in this industry definitely focus on these areas, but it's also the SMEs that need to be supported and guided to get there. When the Joint Apparel Association is working on those aspects as well. But overall, in summary, what I wanted to say is that a transformation is needed in the industry at this stage to make those significant value propositions on offer to our customers. And good news is, customers see Sri Lanka as a reliable destination. So with that, I will wrap up and, of course, call out that the key industry players are on this journey, and obviously we need to keep doing that because the competition is fast catching up. Thank you very much.